Welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to another Spider-Man PS4 related video, as well as a happy belated National Video Games Day, which, if you didn't know, yesterday on September 12th was official National Video Game Day, which I didn't even know existed, but apparently it does, and that is awesome. And the coolest part about that is this whole week is National Video Games Week, and if you don't follow Insomniac or Marvel Games on Twitter, I highly recommend you should, because something very exciting is happening right now in regards to current interviews and just kind of a look back at certain Spider-Man games in regards for Marvel and Insomniac. So, to kind of put into a better perspective, you guys may know a fellow YouTuber by the name of Godzilla Mendoza, and he did his awesome, totally great, out-of-this-world Spider-Man Retrospective series. You guys have seen it, I've seen it, it's awesome. So now, Marvel Games and Insomniac Games are doing their very own take on a Spider-Man Retrospective by each day of Video Games Week. This week, they will be, in fact, looking back at a certain favorite Spider-Man game of theirs, going about it, talking about their favorite parts about it, and we can see, once again, how this is a completely different scenario for a developer that we've never seen before, where, again, they are actually taking time, and like they keep saying in their interviews, they're looking at the past Spider-Man games, past Spider-Man movies, merchandise, comic books, all that good stuff, and we can see that here with what they're doing by taking a good old look back at previous Spider-Man games. To read the tweet from Insomniac, because the tweet from Insomniac and Marvel Games are pretty much the same, so basically to read the one from Insomniac right here, it's National Video Games Week, and at Marvel is taking a look back at classic Spider-Man games with Insomniacs. So, Marvel and Insomniac are taking a big retrospective look back at all the previous Spider-Man games, starting with, of course, my 5th favorite Spider-Man game of all time, if you guys know me by now, which is Spider-Man PS1. So, to read this article right here, National Video Game Week, Countdown Day 1. The founder of Insomniac Games highlights a classic take on Spider-Man. Welcome to National Video Game Week here at Marvel.com. To celebrate the occasion, we're taking a look at the gaming history of our very own friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And who better to swing with us through the annals of Spidey game history than the dev team at Insomniac Games. This stellar group, hard at work bringing the wall crawler to life on PlayStation 4, have run the gamut of web-slinging video game action over the years, from arcade cabinets right up to the PlayStation 3. Each day, we'll bring you the thoughts of someone new at Insomniac, so check back to hear more about all these spectacular, amazing versions of Spider-Man. So right there, they're basically saying they're going to be interviewing these guys, and they're going to write down what their thoughts are on this whole article page right here. I don't know if they're going to be showing like an interview or something, like a video interview, but right now, they have a really cool article page about what currently Ted Price's thoughts of old school Spider-Man PS1 is. So, to continue, first up we have Ted Price, founder and CEO of Insomniac Games. His pick for favorite Spidey game memory goes to Spider-Man for the PlayStation. And to quote Ted Price, "Back in the PS1 days, the term open world didn't really exist," Price explains. "Most games were linear, level-to-level affairs. However, I recall this Spider-Man having more of an open world feel than just about any game I played on the PS1. Sure, it was level-based, and sure, I was limited to the top of buildings and a few interiors. Yet the game design disguised its linear nature well. When I was exploring areas, I rarely felt like I was hemmed in by traditional level constraints. And in terms of mechanics, the game delivered on what makes Spider-Man special: swinging, zipping, wall, ceiling, crawling, and of course, beating up bad guys. Most of all, it was fun to play. Something that was fairly unique for superhero games at the time. Considering the constraints of the PS1, Neversoft knocked this one out of the park. Tomorrow we head all the way back to the early 90s for a blast from the past, which is the actual one that I am going to be reading right now. And if you guys want me to keep doing videos about their retrospective so you guys can listen to me talk about it and explain my thoughts, and so you guys don't have to keep looking back at the article, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'd be more than happy to. So this is the second game that they just talked about today. So hit the arcade for another retro take on Spider-Man with Insomniac. Today we bring you Ryan Schneider, Chief Brand Officer at Insomniac Games. He recalls for us some fond memories of Spider-Man the video game, an arcade game he loved in his high school days. I'm going to go off the beaten path here for a bit. The arcade game from the early 1990s, says Schneider. It became a small part of what had become an afternoon ritual for my friends and I in high school. a local convenience store near my house had the Spider-Man arcade game for what was probably a couple months. It was located across the street from the Chinese food buffet spot my buddies and I would loiter at and pump quarters into Shinobi on many afternoons. Probably my favorite arcade game of all time. I was pretty decent at Shinobi, but my friends were absolute masters. I grew tired of watching them play all afternoon. Plus, I was getting sick of having to buy the beef with broccoli just so we didn't get kicked out of the restaurant again. I remember liking to play as both Spider-Man and Hawkeye, even with his garish attire, switching from game to game since I knew them best from the comics. Looking back, the lack of web traversal for Spidey was a bummer, but as a moody teen, punching and throwing things more than made up for that shortcoming, and at least I had a web attack. The best part of the game was progressing to fight the classic villains. As most arcade games were back then, Spider-Man was hard as hell though. I never came close to beating it. Damn you, Electro and Doc Ock, but could make my way through a few boss battles. It was also cool to switch between platforming and combat in the game. Maybe that's why I became so immediately drawn to Ratchet & Clank. Tomorrow, a Spider-Man game of more recent vintage makes the cut. So to sum it up, guys, I am extremely happy that Marvel and Insomniac are doing this retrospective on past Spider-Man games, and that they are basically talking about their fond memories about it, and saying how excited they are to be able to make a Spider-Man game based on the ones that are their own personal favorite, because once again, a quote directly from Bill Roseman, who's the executive creative director of Marvel Games, has said that Spider-Man PS4 is a game that is being made from the fans, for the fans. And clearly, with these two clear-cut statements from both Ted Price and Ryan Schneider, I can definitely see that. I have absolute total faith in Insomniac. They're just as much hardcore Spider-Man fans as we are, if not more so, and I am really, really excited what the next game is going to be. Once again, if you want me to talk about what other games they end up talking about, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to. But until then, I'll leave a link to this whole article page in the description below so you can go check on it daily, and make sure to go check on it daily for more updates on what games they talk about next. So a couple things before I end this video, guys, is first off, that was a recent kind of Spider-Man PS4 update, but there is another update that I'm going to get to into another video where I'm going to do a collaboration video with fellow Spidey Squad members Duck Duck and Talented Gamer HD, where we talk about certain jobs that are now recently available for people to go in and work for Insomniac, specifically regarding artists for Spider-Man PS4 that they need to work on Spider-Man PS4, and we're just going to talk about our thoughts, what we think this could mean, and also analyze what these specific jobs are, so make sure to stay tuned for that video coming later. And also recently, yesterday, I was part of an awesome broadcast known as the Broadcast from the PlayStation Bros, and they invited me on, and we just talked about games, and during like the past hour mark, I think we started to talk about Spider-Man PS4, our excitements for it, what we are excited for it, why we think Insomniac is a great choice for who can make a Spider-Man game, and it was a really fun time, and I was more than happy to be on there, and they were really awesome guys overall, so go subscribe to them. I'll leave their channel in the description, I'll leave the link to the video in the description, and it was a really fun topic discussion, so go check it out. But anyways, guys, that is the end for this video. A quick little update on Insomniac doing a retrospective on past Spider-Man games. It's really awesome. Please go check it out, and without further ado, everybody, stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.